Ah, the pleasures of meditative contemplation and inner peace brought on by music. Since the 1990s, it's become a fashion among Christians, but I think especially among New Age fans, to listen to singing monks and old Gregorian chants. In the 1960s, I don't think that was very much a fashion. And yet, here we are, still talking about a group called The Monks. Not in New Age circles, but among rock critics, well acclaimed musicians, and, well, internet hipsters. Their only album, Black Monk Time, is featured in the notorious book 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. It must be good. Or is this rather a case of an album where you better die before you hear it? Let's find out in this Murdoch Music Minute. Welcome back. Today's album review contains American GIs with strange haircuts, Vietnam War critique, and a banjo. Who are those monks who released one obscure album which decades later was rediscovered and praised as one of the most important precursors to punk rock? Black Slideshow Time. The story of one of the wildest and coolest contributions to garage rock starts, of course, in 1963 in Gelnhausen. 22,000 inhabitants, part of the German county Hessen, a museum, a couple of historical buildings. In between, 5 Americans stationed in barracks there. Gary Berger, lead guitar and vocals, Larry Clark, organ and piano, Eddie Shaw, bass, Dave Day, rhythm guitar and banjo, and Roger Johnston, drums, started playing rock and roll covers together to entertain fellow outpost servicemen. They first called themselves the Talkies and still had a different drummer when they were noticed by local talent manager Hans Reich. He could convince the band members to stay in Germany and pursue a career as a beat band. A first single was produced, still under the name of the Talkies, but now with new drummer Roger Johnston. The band moved to Stuttgart, where they became the house band of a club and could experiment with their sound. This resulted in an increasingly daring style with harsh sounds, feedback, and robotic rhythms. This brought the attention of a young team of German managers who helped creating the image of the group that now renamed itself the Monks. This phase of trying out and developing a whole new image took almost a year, in which the band, now appearing in robes and even with shaved hair like Catholic monks, baffled, confused, scared, or enraged their audiences. However, that different and radical approach landed them a recording session for Polydor in Cologne. The result? The band's sole studio album, Black Monk Time, was released in May 1966. US listeners, however, would have to wait several decades for an official release. Yeah, the tonsure didn't really catch on as a look in rock music. I can't imagine why. So, for all young crazy bands out there, think about it. Black Monk Time is one of the big yet obscure albums in rock history. A ton of people will sing its praises, yet a lot of people will never have heard of it. The vaults of garage rock are filled with forgotten one-off releases, a lot of them trashy, others undeservedly slipped through the cracks. So what makes this album stand out? Let's look into it track by track. It's a dark mockery of all the band theme songs that were around in the beat music era. It's Monk Time, and Monk Time means not your ordinary garage music to dance to.
All right, my name's Gary. Let's go. It's beat time. It's hot time. It's funk time. You know, we don't like the Army. What Army? Who cares what Army? Why do you kill all those kids over there in Vietnam? Mad Viet Cong. My brother died in Vietnam. James Bond, who is he?
The next one, Shut Up, is a chaotic, primitively stomping mess with frantic organ playing from Larry Clark. It's got a bit of a loose jam atmosphere and definitely is more art rock than garage beat. The following two entries, Boys Are Boys and Girls Are Choice, as well as Higgledy Piggledy, are rowdy versions of garagey beat music for avant-garde underground clubs in 1960s Hamburg. The organ gives those raw tracks an eerie touch. For beat music fans who at that time were into the early Beatles or maybe the Hollies and in Germany the Rattles, this music must have sounded like it came from a lunatic asylum. And what band in 1965-66 would have released a song called I Hate You? I hate you with a passion, baby, but call me. The highly contradictory lyrics are set to a tranquil, stumbling rhythm. Guitar feedback in the middle forestalls alternative and noise rock. Oh How to Do Now, closing the first side, is different but not less freaky. A robotic beat, the banjo practically only providing more rhythmic background, and Berger's nervous vocals switching into falsetto at the end make this one of the more unusual garage bangers of the era.
Well, I don't know how to do. Hey girl, I wanna put the make on you. Oh, that will do, yeah. Make you mine, long time today.
We are at side 2 of Black Monk Time now, and it continues with maybe the most quintessential Monks recording, Complication. A harsh and angry song with a, for 66, massively distorted guitar and anti-war sentiment. The term 60s punk never fit better than with this song.
Complication! Complication! Constipation! People cry. Complication! People die for you. People kill. Complication!
Then we get the English-German word pun, we do, so we do like you. An openly fun, light-hearted, stomping ditty that seems to make fun of both German Schlager and the simplistic lyrics of the beat groups of those times. It's an ultra-short song that still manages to squeeze in a quick guitar solo. This is followed by Drunken Maria, another deranged 60s party track. It's held together by a simple, catchy bass line. The song has a playful, juvenile spirit.
Sleepy Maria, don't drink. Drunken Maria, don't sleep. Sleepy Maria, don't drink. Drunken Maria, don't sleep.
Love Came Tumbling Down could have been a surf instrumental if the band hadn't insisted on those stomping rhythmics all the time instead. It is possibly the most tuneful entry on the album, but still retains a very tongue-in-cheek approach. Blast Off, the second last track, is a garage rock and roll tune that provided the blueprint for oh so many trash punk acts that should follow from the 1980s onwards. And of course, this song also fell into the times of the race for space. That's My Girl finally invites to one more unadulterated hop at the 60s dance floor. The organ stabs at the offbeats, the banjo sounds more like a skiffle group gone crazy. Gary Berger yells and wails, realizing that somebody else is making out with his girl. Plus, there's a droning guitar feedback that a wider public would hear for the first time from Jimi Hendrix. Black Monk Time clearly sounds 1960s to modern ears, but in 1966 this was very radical. And I agree with those critics who regard this album one of the most important proto-punk releases. Critics in 66, if they dealt with Black Monk Time at all, quite hated this album. Since then, it had remained an underground secret known only by a few weirdo critics and collectors, but also increasingly praised by musicians. Still, it would take until the 1990s that Black Monk Time was for the first time officially released on the US market. One of the reasons, or actually the reason for that, was that their label back in 1966 deemed some of the content and also the music too radical or too disturbing and decided to not release Black Monk Time for the US market, which of course was quite a blow to the aspirations and the career of the Monks. Black Monk Time didn't sell. The band struggled to gain new fans or reach a wider audience also in Germany. They released 2 more singles, urged by their management to soften their sound a bit, and shortly before starting a tour of Vietnam, the band split up in the later 60s. Interest in the Monks, however, led to a short reunion in the 1990s and finally also recognition as a very influential band. There's also a great documentary about the band out there called The Transatlantic Feedback. If you come across it somewhere, it's really worthwhile watching. In my opinion, the relevance of this album cannot be denied. It maybe will only fully speak to fans of dark garage rock or underground avant-garde, but its subversiveness has got an impact to this day. Next to the anger and spite and chaos in some of the songs, the material on Black Monk Time also pokes fun at the dance and beat music that was popular at the time, and maybe also the fact that the German audience didn't understand the lyrics. Whilst not all the tracks here are absolute masterpieces, some belong to the best garage rock ever made. Black Monk Time has a unique atmosphere and sound. Fans of the 60s unknown corners, fans of alternative music and also of punk should seek out this album. And if you don't, you will only be able to receive absolution by listening to the latest Taylor Swift album 3 times in a row without falling asleep. Bye.